everybody, this is Heather McCullum, and today we are going to dress me. These are my two daughters, Sky and Kira, and they are going to help dress me as Queen Elizabeth I. It's quite complicated. To start with, I already have on my stockings and a smock, okay? They wouldn't wear underwear underneath, but they would wear a smock that they changed every day. That was their underwear. And I have a set of stays on that are tightly cinched. So that's where we start, the foundation. Okay. Okay, dressers. I am Queen Elizabeth. You need to dress me.
Right.
All right, so how do we start?
Bum pad.
We have the bum pad or bum roll here.
There, you can tie it in the front.
Like a bow.
I'll take it.
Okay, we've got that on. And you can see it's nice and big because it has to hold up this, which is a drum farthingale. And this, this whole outfit, Victoria Vane created for me as authentically as she could. And she made this a very stiff one because she couldn't buy one that was hefty enough to hold up the weight of this beautiful gown because it's velvet. All right, so this is being tied in back. So this creates a shelf for the dress, the skirt part to go up and over, okay?
Okay, so now I need the skirt.
So now we need the skirt. And this fabric, I know the camera doesn't do it justice. It is black velvet that is embroidered with these beautiful roses and flowers. And it's extremely heavy. And in England there, it was cold a lot. So here, where I am in North Carolina, it is warm. So I'm already sweating, but.
Over her head.
Okay, so this has to go over my head. I would love to have seen Queen Elizabeth being dressed because I don't think she would put up with a whole lot of going over her head and such, but I guess she knew. Whew. So it comes out and it fluffs, and it has to be done up and back. Is it straight? Hopefully we cinched me enough. I have been in quarantine for a month, so it may be a little tight.
It's a little tight, but we're gonna get it. Almost there.
And my husband Braden is filming also, so if you see him, because your whole shoulder is in the recording, by the way.
Now you tell me.
There we go.
Okay, so now it is over that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And if you're wondering what the strange things are in the back, you know how they're doing that museum challenge where you take a picture and then try to recreate it? So we're going to do that later. We're going to recreate the Elizabeth Spanish Armada picture. So after I'm dressed.
Now we have this neck thing.
Oh, this is the fichu or the... It's sort of like make a little bit more modest. And there's this very nice big pin there that my daughter hopefully will not stab me with. All right. Got it?
Yay! What's next, Sky?
Okay, so what goes next? Everything has to go in a very specific order.
Yeah.
I think the ruff goes next. Now the ruff can be worn two ways. In the Spanish Armada picture, the ruff actually comes around the front, but then in a lot of Elizabeth's pictures,
So it's under the arms, Kira.
the ruff is open in the front.
And then,
So we're going to do that.
Yeah.
This took Victoria Vane over 16 hours of hand sewing to create this. It is beautiful.
Can you, okay, Kira, so pull it, or hold it there, and then
It was all hand
I
sewn,
see it.
all the pearls.
Maybe the crossover needs to come in the front, and she ties it in the front. Then you tuck it in.
tight enough?
Now, in Elizabethan times, this would have been made from very, very stiff material. We didn't have quite the amount of stiffness that she would have necessarily had. But this is a very close representation. So that has to be tied on first, actually, we found, before the upper bodice of the dress and the stomacher go on. Okay. All right, next.
Next is the bodice and stomacher thing. Okay.
Bodice and stomacher. Okay. This would be in separate parts, and her ladies in waiting would actually be sewing her into this, but Victoria made it a little easier for us by sewing it together. So we have the bodice, the outer sleeves, and the stomacher all tied together.
So this is going to go over your head, I'm pretty sure. No, I think we have to come all the way
I
over.
have to
Okay.
unlace it. It's another thing that's laced. But you won't have to pull this one as tight because I'm already cinched really tight. Whew.
Okay, so arm into there.
Arm.
I'll get that one. Sleeve.
So you can see that there's no way, I think I might have to put my arm back. There's no way that someone could get dressed in this by themselves. So that has to go all the way up on my shoulder.
Is that supposed to do that? Like go under the...
Yeah, it's supposed to go under this. First, this leave open, and this has to be cinched together.
Yeah.
And this needs to come up. Now, just like Queen Elizabeth, every time she would get dressed in a gown, something would fall off or get ruined. And so her ladies, as soon as she took off her gown, would have to make any repairs. So when I take this off, I'm going to go and carefully inspect this ruff because it's the most delicate part. Okay. This doesn't have to close all the way because it's going to be covered.
Okay, that's
Okay. But it does have to close somewhat because the stomacher has to be able to fit and close. So,
Can't believe they'd sew her in.
yeah, they would sew her in or use lots of pins. And I don't think I want pins. I'd rather be sewn in. And then they would just clip the thread at the end of the day. Now, these dresses are not washable. They just aren't. And that's why they always had a smock underneath. The smock was the part that touched the skin. And that is what they would change each day to stay fresh. I did watch a documentary once where they took two different archaeologists. One did not shower for 3 months, but she changed out her smock every day. And she, wiped her skin with a dry rag and combed her hair well with the fine combs that they had. The other archaeologist decided they would change their clothes every day, but she did not, she did not change her clothes every day, but she would shower every day. But the one that ended up smelling the worst was the one who showered every day, but didn't change her clothes. So as long as the Elizabethans were changing that internal, that smock that's right up against the skin, it did not, it didn't reek as badly as we would think that it would. They kept that fresh. Having fun?
Lacing?
Lots of lacing.
Yeah.
Okay, you're doing great. Hang in there, honey. So I originally had this costume made because I'm going to be in a fashion show of queens at Colonial Williamsburg. It was supposed to be in March, but it has been moved to September. And it's Romancing Williamsburg, which is a historical reader event with a number of wonderful historical authors there. And I will be, of course, Queen Elizabeth I in the fashion show. So we made this costume to be as authentic as possible.
Oh, ribbons are not even. Oops.
Did we miss a hole?
No,
No,
it's just
okay.
that it was a little off when we started, I think, the lengths.
Okay. Can I help in any way? I'm sure Elizabeth did not help, but I'm helping. I can't imagine what it was like to get her dressed every day, especially if she was in a peevish mood. She is my favorite historical figure, so when I had the opportunity to be in the fashion show, I jumped at it. I've read her biographies. I think I'm going to have to write a Tudor England series at some point because I know so much about her and I really, really respect her and what she was able to do for her country. She ruled, I think, for 45 years and brought relative peace during a very traumatic time. There was always something going on between England and Scotland and okay. Now, this is the stomacher, and it has to hook in here, and if we have cinched it tight enough, it should hook.
Oh, look at here. I kind of think we have to start at the top where those won't go in yet.
Now, they would not have the little hooks that they're putting in. The stomacher, the triangular stomacher, would have been something pinned on or sewn on.
I'm going to come pull a little bit of the other side. It's good.
You strong enough, Kira?
Is it not tight enough?
I got it. And last one.
All right, last one.
Okay, got it.
All right. Whoa, look at that.
And then the sleeves.
Oh, now we need to do they had two sets of sleeves. So there's this outer sleeve that's gold lined, and now the inner sleeves have to be tied at the shoulder.
Yeah. So this wasn't super clear in the video, so I'm not sure exactly where I'm supposed to tell them. I see, okay.
You see?
Yeah, flowers I'm guessing on top.
Now, the white puffs on the sleeves there is a simulation of how they used to put slashes in their sleeves, and then they would pull an inner, like the smock. If I had a silk smock on underneath, they would pull some of the inner material out through the slashes. So Victoria, to represent that, created this puffed kind of material along it. And the nice thing about when you tie on sleeves like that is that they could be replaced. You could change your dress somewhat by putting a different set of sleeves on.
You didn't double knot it, did you? No. Should I put them on?
You might notice this ring that I have on. It is a blue sapphire. Elizabeth wore a blue sapphire when she died. She did not tell anyone for sure who was going to take over the English throne after she died, who her successor was, because she was always afraid that then someone would take her out because there was a successor. She had always intended then, for James up in Scotland to become the king after she died. So she had her lady-in-waiting take her sapphire ring from her finger as soon as she breathed her last breath. She dropped it outside the window to someone who was waiting. And it was, I believe, an Anne Boleyn, someone in that family. And they rode for 3 days straight up into Scotland to present it to James and knelt before him and said, "You are now the king of England, Scotland, and Ireland." So thought having a nice big emerald ring, that's a good thing to have.
Sapphire or emerald?
Oh, not emerald, sapphire. Yeah,
Yeah.
sapphire. Okay. So how are we? Are we good?
Yeah.
Yeah? All
Yeah.
standing up? Let me see. Oh, yes, look at this. Okay, here's the back. You can see how it's hard to tell with it being black that it does come in. And then the sleeves are here. Okay, so now Victoria, first let's do some jewelry. So she loved to wear pearls along with, a ring. So in that bigger bag there, yeah. So we have some pearls here. And I have pearl earrings on. There we go. I think. So we're going to put, I think, all three on. Oh, wait a second. We made this one shorter by putting that rubber band there. Oh, I didn't take these apart. All right, let's put these on.
She'd wear all of these?
Yes, she wore layers of pearls. I think
Or take that off.
I think we made that one shorter by putting that rubber band in. Or we tied it. Can't remember.
That looks good.
Yeah, there. So we have the pearls. Okay. Have the ring. Have the earrings. And now for her hair. Victoria Vane created a wig for me. She took one and she put pearls in it and she styled it. So we're going to try to get it on my head. So first thing I did is I have my hair French braided, and then this stocking is going to go on here and make me look very funny. So let's see, do we have that mirror there?
Oh, yeah.
Over on my
I've done
desk?
quite a few of these in my life.
Oh yes, because you were in theater.
Yeah.
You can help then. And yes, Elizabeth did wear a lot of wigs, especially towards the middle to the end of her life. A lot of the ladies back then would do that. They would just have wigs. Her hair was, of course, originally red, just like her father's. She did take after her father quite a bit. However, she had the slender build of her mother. How's that doing?
Just the pearls got stuck in it, so I just want to take it out a bit. But
Okay.
it should be fine because the wig will cover most of the back. It's just a little. I bet you guys are distantly related.
I know. When we started doing this costume and looking at pictures of Elizabeth, Victoria was like, Heather, you look so much like her. Later, I'm going to put on the white makeup and for the picture, for the Armada picture, and boy, I do look very similar.
Should we put this
There
on
are
like a
2
normal wig?
pins. I pinned it to the head. It's one of these T-pins. There you go.
I'm gonna hold it in the front, or...
Let me take that. Okay, yeah, I can hold it in the front. All right, this is kind of tough to put on. See?
So hold it right where you want it in the front.
Okay. Now she did have a high forehead. Whew. And I think the front is showing a bit, Sky.
Get up there.
Don't really do this part on camera normally.
Right. What do you think? Is it too far forward? Because her forehead, it was up a lot.
Yeah, but then your hair's gonna show.
Interestingly, she did not wear gloves. She would carry gloves sometimes, but she didn't typically wear them because she loved her long, slender fingers, so she always liked them to show. How does it look?
Well, I can't really get your forehead anymore showing without it showing all of
Okay.
your hair. So even right now, there's a little bit of your hair
I think a little bit of it is okay. I need to dye it red again. The stores are all out of my hair dye. And then, Kira, can you get my my fan that's in the box under there? How's it going?
Which one?
The white one, please. Okay. And she often had an ostrich feather fan. So my mother and I made these fans. The back has a little mirror on it so I can make sure that there's nothing in my teeth, right? So here I am. Does it look good?
Mm-hmm.
Here I am as Queen Elizabeth now. She didn't smile as much as I've been smiling. I'll have to get into character at some point. But she was an amazing, amazing woman. Both Protestant, she was Protestant, but she was trying to create an England where there was peace. So she was very tolerant. And like I said, she did survive a long time in a man's world where they tried for decades and decades to get her to marry, but she always felt that she didn't trust England with any man. She wanted to take care of it, so she wed England, and she stayed the Virgin Queen for many years until she died.
Do you want to do a precursor of the portrait?
Okay,
Sky.
I guess. Yeah.
You take your position and we'll move the cameras.
Okay, so
Kira,
this
steal
is
the fan.
the...
My bad.
Yes. That is in the portrait, though, too, the
Okay.
fan.
Is it? You
That's
need to get your hips through there.
Okay. I mean, we're still going to stop and put... Oh,
Yeah, your head's gone.
my head's gone. Put my white makeup on, because she did like to wear... That was, of the ladies of the time, would whiten their skin with lead and alabaster and such. And she had this... In the picture, she has her hand on a globe, which you can't really see there, but... Anyways, so there we go. Well, thank you so much for coming today and seeing me get into my full Elizabeth I costume. And soon we'll be posting a picture of the Armada picture next to me. So, thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.